This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Hi there, Duke fans. Time for episode 792 of the DBR podcast, the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason Evans here. I'm with my buddy Donald Wine. Donald, it was a snowy but very successful Saturday, wasn't it?
It was. It was funny. It was an interesting game, and then we eventually pulled away and covered, if you believe those sort of things. But also, Jason, I just want to note, today is February 1st. Happy Black History Month. And I would just encourage everybody, take some time every day to learn about something new about Black history that you may not know. And I would begin, since we are a Duke podcast, with C.B. Claiborne, who was the first Black player at Duke University. Reading up on him is great. I had a chance to interview him, Jason, a couple months ago. They're doing a documentary on his time at Duke, and hopefully it'll be ready pretty soon for people to watch in full. But very, very awesome to get to talk to him and learn more about his story. And I encourage you all to do the same.
Yeah, thanks very much for that, sir. We've told his story in various ways on this podcast in the past, but certainly someone worth checking up on. And those are fine words from you as we begin Black History Month, an important part of the calendar. All right, it's also an important part of the calendar because this is the ACC
We're heating up
home
now.
stretch.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're about to enter the back half of the ACC schedule. The Blue Devils went 8-0 on the. Wait, do we play 16 or 18 games? We play 18 games this year.
we play 18 games.
Oh, so we're at the back half. My bad. So we're now 9-0 in the ACC. We're how many? I can't figure out. Year to year, man, it changes every year. I can't figure out how many damn games we're playing in the conference. We are now 9-0 in the ACC after the Blue Devils defeated the Virginia Tech Hokies. The final score was 72-58. On the one hand, Duke had a 16-point lead in the first half, so you're like, oh, they only won by 14. On the other hand, this game was like, frankly, between like 7 and 5 or like 6 and 8 points, basically the entire second half. Virginia Tech kept on threatening to put like real possession pressure on Duke, and Duke kept on being like, maybe not.
Well, Jason, when we get to the good, I know we're going to do headlines first, but when we get to the good, I want to start with why this game was weird, but also why this was actually a very quality win for Duke.
Oh, most assuredly, it's a high quality one. Virginia Tech is a team probably on the NCAA bubble, but this is a very good a club, and winning in Castle is never easy. With that, let's get to the headlines because we have some that reference the fact that Duke won in Castle. In fact, I'm going to start with Ted Allen, who said, "Kings of Castle, Cam Boozer and the Duke D overwhelm Virginia Tech." That's a good one, Ted.
You know, I had one from Ted as well. It was a different one, we had a lot about Hokey Pokey, which is always fun when we play the Hokies. And when Ted Allen goes, "The men in blue locked down the Hokies in the pokey."
Bart Hopper gave us "under the weather, in the weather, Duke snows the Hokies." That's a really good description of the stuff that was happening sort of off the court that affected this game.
Yeah, a lot of references to the winter weather. Again, hopefully everybody in Durham, in North Carolina is safe, but it was also wintry weather in Blacksburg. Jarrett Strauss wrote in and said, "Despite sickness and snow, Duke's strong start and strong finish swallow Hokies." You got some alliteration there, Jarrett. I like it.
You like alliteration. I like rhymes. So I'm going to go to Alex Ward. Alex, this is really good. "Duke's starters were ill. Their three-pointers were chill, but with rebounds and will, they earned a win still." Nice job, Alex, on the poem.
The final one that I have is from Jim Blitch, again, using alliteration. And Jim Blitch, starting with a B, he uses all B's. "Boozer, brilliance, brings Blackburg bleakness." I love it. I love the alliteration, Jason.
Jim Baumgartner, this is my last one. I can't believe this is so good. Here's what he wrote. "Rembrandt, Vermeer, Duke, masters of the paint."
I love that one, Jason. And the only reason I didn't pick it is because I knew you would. So I didn't even bother. I just said, let's let Jason have that one. And that's a great way to finish that out.
You knew that I would pick that one. I also want to shout out Tyler Rowe. Tyler is a sophomore at Virginia Tech who said he is a lifelong Duke fan, and he was kind of conflicted a little bit watching this game. He said the fact that he sends his paychecks to Virginia Tech, his tuition checks to Virginia Tech, means he was rooting a little more for Vatech. But Tyler, we appreciate you remaining a Duke fan, even though you're attending Virginia Tech. Donald, let's get to the good. Actually, before we get to the good,
real
go
quick,
ahead.
I just want to say, Tyler,
something. Go for it.
Yeah, I just want to say, Tyler, don't worry about that, man. As my dad would say, you root for the money. So we totally understand here how that works.
Hey, before we get to the good, there were two things I want to mention about this game. And this is the first one is neither a good nor bad thing, but I just wanted to bring it up. And it's that this was somehow, Donald, I'm not sure if you noticed it, a 58 possession game.
Mm-hmm.
The previous low for Duke on the season, the lowest number of possessions Duke has played in the game this year had been 63. How did we have a 58 possession game? Now, I noticed there were several times where each team would get offensive rebounds, like multiple offensive rebounds perhaps, and really extend the clock. And so those, you can turn a 25-second possession into a minute-long possession with an offensive rebound or two, with some fouls committed, and you reset and get another 20 seconds. I guess those extra long possessions are what caused this, but a 58 possession game is just unheard of for Duke, especially because we usually play now we play slow on defense, but super fast on offense. And I was just shocked when I went ahead and looked at this. When you think about the fact of what the final score was, when you think about Duke scoring 72 points in a 58 possession game, that's kind of amazing. So that was one thing. And then the other thing I wanted to note, Donald, and maybe this should go in the good or the bad, I don't know, the fact that Duke was so under the weather. Before we even get to, before the game even starts, we get word that Dame Sarr and Caleb Foster are on the probable list, on the injury report, so to speak. And they both played, although I think Dame Sarr especially did not look anything like himself, and he only played like 8 minutes. But I suspect that flu bug that landed those two guys on the injury report, I think that flu bug may have been going through the rest of the team a little bit as well. Duke seemed a little sluggish at times in this game. I thought Cameron Boozer especially, as great a game as he had, didn't seem completely like himself at times. Do you think I'm wrong?
Well, that was exactly what I was going to lead with, Jason. But I want to start with the fact that after the game in the post-game press conference, John Shire, before he said anything, said he wanted to point out for lack of a better word, the heroics of Caleb Foster. He didn't practice on Friday. That's how sick he was. And as you mentioned, I was going to talk about a little bit in the good and the bad. I think the rest of the team is sicker than they let on. I think Caleb Foster and Dame Sarr were sicker than they let on, but they just kind of were the sacrificial lambs to the availability report, if you will. They were the sickest of the bunch, so let's just throw those guys on there. Put them on there because they're the sickest of the bunch. But he talked about how Caleb grinded out that win. He had a career high in rebounds with 7. And again, despite the fact that he looked sluggish and you could tell that he was laboring, and I think the whole team was kind of laboring through a lot of this game, I think it's important to note, Jason, that 5 of the last 7 times before yesterday when we went to Castle, we had lost. Virginia Tech was 4-1 against top 5 Duke teams at home. So
they kept on flashing that on the screen. That was their favorite stat to put on the screen.
Well, it's their favorite stat because it's true, right? And
it's amazing. I mean, we should. I mean, that's incredible. The Virginia Tech playing a top 5 Duke team is 4-1 at home over their past 20 years or so. That's kind of amazing.
Well, I mean, even forget all that, right? They were setting this up because, Jason, guess what they were talking about the rest of the time when they weren't talking about this game? They were talking about the game next weekend. And it was all a lead on to be this Virginia Tech game could easily have been viewed as a trap game. And with everybody on the team apparently sick, it could have been easy for these guys to just kind of phone it in and see if they can get out of there, maybe with a 1-point loss, something where they can go, hey, it was because we were sick. They didn't. They scrapped it. They went and they kind of found another level. And you could tell as the game went along, they got a little bit more confident and they got a little bit more. It wasn't as sluggish a performance as we went along, but still, they had to fight through way more than I think they let everybody to believe, right? I don't think it was just two guys who were sick on a team that's so close like this team is and how a lot of these Duke teams are. They're always together. So it feels like all of these guys are probably really sick. But the fact that John Shire started by pointing out Caleb Foster for praise for how sick he was and to come back and lead the team in or not lead the team rebounds, but get a career high in rebounds, to get 4 assists, to get 7 points, and to, really fight through that. And that kind of showed that fight is what this team needed to win this ball game. It was a quad one game. And again, like you said, Virginia Tech is always good against us. The fact that we were able to grind out with one of our guys being so sick that he couldn't even get out of bed on Friday to come back and have a performance like that, I think that really influenced the team to fight through whatever they were dealing with to get this win. And it was an important one.
Yeah, by the way, you mentioned Cephas with the 7 points, the 7 rebounds, 4 assists. He had just 1 turnover on this game. Really, really nice job for a guy that was under the weather. I'd love to see him have a game like that when he's not sick. So, hey, I'll take it any day of the week. Hey, I want to start our true going through of the good with, we had the headline from Jim Baumgartner about Duke being masters of the paint. Wow. So Duke shot 26 of 38 on 2-point field goals in this game. That's 68.5%. Look, we've had a few games that were better than that. Against Howard, we were 29 of 34 on 2-point field goals. Against Army, we were 21 of 28. But those are smaller teams, not nearly on the caliber with Virginia Tech. For Duke to get 26 2-point field goals, that's the most Duke's had in a game since the Lipscomb game, a month and a half ago, again, against a smaller team, a non-power conference team. For Duke to go 26 of 38, all those points in the paint, 46 points scored in the paint by the Blue Devils, is just so impressive against a team like Virginia Tech that has some really good big men and some decent size and is a very, very high-quality team. Again, I mentioned Duke, 46 points in the paint. This is our 5th game in a row with 42-plus points in the paint. We are dominating teams on the inside. We outscored Virginia Tech 46-24. That's a plus 22 on points in the paint for the Blue Devils. We out-rebounded them 33-26. We ended up winning second chance points 16-6. Donald, every stat points out the obvious, which is that Duke was way better on the inside than Virginia Tech. And look, I want to be clear. I do not want us really looking ahead to next Saturday. We don't do that yet. There is another game to come. You and I will have plenty of time to get into that game. But it is worth noting that it is going to be an epic, unbelievable matchup of big men a week, a week, not quite a week, 6 days from now when Duke plays those other guys from down the road. Because what Duke is doing on the inside, I'm not sure there's any team in the country that's playing better on the inside right now, but if there is, it happens to be the one 7 miles down the road.
Well, yeah, like you said, I'm not necessarily worried about them. We have so much to deal with between now and then, and you and I are going to be seeing a lot of each other because we're going to be recording basically all this week. So everybody get ready to hear from us quite a bit. But I think from this game especially, it also, again, goes back to the fact that these guys are sick, the one thing that usually goes are your legs, right? And so we didn't shoot well from 3. And I attribute a lot of that to the fact that we were sick. We were under the weather. Now, we could talk about that trend in a little bit later of us not shooting well from beyond the arc. But I also think it couples with the fact that we've kind of noticed that we've gone more inside. Okay, our shooting's not working outside. Cool. Time to hammer them. And to do that, you need strength. You need physicality. You need to be able to get to your spots. And one thing, Jason, that you'll notice in the trend is that our assist rate has gone down. And it's because we're dumping the ball into the post, and there's definitely times when you dump the ball into the post where a guy's going to have to dribble a few times to get to his spot to move around, and it doesn't involve a pass. And so it's funny. One of my favorite stats is the fact that we move the ball around, the assist rate. The fact that it's high means we're doing a great job at finding open guys for shots. But it also means that if that comes down a little bit, it's not necessarily because we're doing more one-on-one, it's because we're getting the ball inside where there's not an opportunity to create an assist most of the time if you're going to your big men. And our big men have been performing very well in that regard. Not just Cam and Pat. Malik Brown also was great inside for Duke yesterday, both on offense and on defense, which I'll talk about the defense in a minute.
Yeah, I was going to get to the defense in just a second, but before we do, I do want to mention one other thing about the big men, which is that Duke had 8 dunks in this game. I looked. It took a little bit of research, took a little bit of digging. There probably are better sites for it, but I just couldn't find one, so I had to go back and check on Bart Torvik's site, go through each game individually all season long. Duke generally, most games has between like 3 and 5 dunks, maybe 6. Like 6 was the high against like a power conference, a legitimate team this year. For Duke to have 8 dunks in a game. Now you may go, oh, well, they've had 6 in a game before. 8 isn't that much more. No. Think about this in terms. 2 extra buckets on dunks. Dunks are high percentage shots. But I think what it really shows you is the way that Duke was attacking the basket, because those dunks, almost all of them came off of guys attacking the rim, the help defense coming to them, and Duke tossing up a lob that ends in a dunk. That was the vast majority of those dunks. And for Duke's game, for us to be able to break down the Virginia Tech, perimeter defense, get in the lane, force their big men to make a decision, and then penalize that decision with a dunk, that's some really impressive stuff by the Duke guards and by the Duke bigs, because a lot of those dunks were big to big. Those were, Cam tossing the ball up to Cam and to Pat and Malik, and vice versa. It was noticeable how much Duke was getting to the rim and how many dunks Duke was getting in this game, which is what caused me to look it up and figure out that this was the most we've had against any opponent that has players over 6'8".
Spoiler alert, my play of the game involves a dunk, but not from the person you think it would involve. But we'll leave that for play of the game. Jason, I do want to switch to the defense, because I think one thing to think about is, while it's not always been perfect, and we've had some ruts in some of these games, we've held 4 of the last opponents, or I'm sorry, 4 of the last 5 opponents under 60 points.
Yeah.
And this season, we've held 9 teams to 60 points or fewer. I think that's an incredible stat. And the fact that, once again, yesterday, throughout all the lethargy, throughout all the sluggishness, the defense was on point. They held Virginia Tech to 41.8% from the floor, 26.9% from 3. I really enjoyed the fact that they kind of said, hey, even if we don't get what we want on offense, we can still help ourselves by clamping down on defense. And I think it made Virginia Tech have to really fight for a lot of their shots. If you noticed, despite the fact that maybe they were getting some shots off, they didn't have a ton of open looks. A lot of them were contested. We were getting hands in passing lanes to not just disrupt the offense, but again, disrupt the positioning of these guys when they did shoot. So I'm very happy with, especially when you think about 3 weeks ago, Jason, we were talking about, our defense is hitting a wall here.
We had a bad run. Yeah.
Yeah. Consider that run ended. But the run that we're on now is this team feels like it's punishing itself when a team hits 60 points, and they're saying we're not going to punish ourselves anymore. Again, holding teams under 60 points is an incredible stat for one game. The fact that we've done it 9 times, including 4 of the last 5, is simply astonishing.
Well, and the thing about that, the 58 points that they scored, is that this Virginia Tech team is a really good offensive team. They average 81 points per game. So do a little bit of math there. We held them 23 points under their average. I mean, that's kind of crazy when you think about it. And really, other than Hansberry, who had a great game, and Cameron Boozer left him too open. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Cam, pick up a little bit of that perimeter D there, buddy. Other than leaving Hansberry wide open, they couldn't find anyone else to score for them. Like, we really clamped down on the rest of that team. You mentioned the fact that they hit 26.9, 27% from 3. Other than Hansberry, the rest of the team was 3 of 21 on 3-pointers. That's really bad. And one of the things I wanted to note about our defense was this. I talked in the preview, Donald, about how great Virginia Tech is, even better than Duke, at getting to the free throw line. We talked about Toby Lawal has multiple games this year where he shot 10 plus free throws. That Toby Lawal usually gets to the line like 8 to 10 times in 40 minutes of action. Against Duke, they shot a total of 6 free throws, just 2 of them in the second half. Toby Lawal drew exactly 1 foul on Duke the entire game. Again, this is a guy who draws like 8 to 10 fouls per game, and he drew 1 on Duke. And that's a tribute to us playing good defense the right way. I thought it was terribly impressive that one of the ways Virginia Tech is so reliant on in scoring, we completely shut off. And then for them to be unable to hit threes as well, like that's the formula to take a team that scores 80 points per game and hold them less than 60.
I mean, look, we only had 13 personal fouls in the entire game, and that is, if that's skewed, we consider that Nick Minia had 4 and Dame Sarr had 3. So 2 guys had 7 of the 12, or sorry, I'm sorry, 7 of the 13. We were able to really play within ourselves and play in control. And again, the fact that Virginia Tech was not able to do the things that they normally like to do is what really frustrated them. And it's not like it was a game where there was a ton of turnovers. I mean, at least on their end, they had 10 turnovers. We had 15. We were a little sloppy at times on offense.
No. You got it back. We had 8 turnovers. We had 15 assists.
I'm sorry, 8 turnovers. Yes. But again, I think the fact that we were able to frustrate them when they had the ball, and again, we were getting to our spots, they weren't. We were, again, the passing, the deflections, the steals, we were just doing just enough to get them out of their comfort zone. And if you notice, there was a lot of times they were shooting shots that were like over 2 people, step back one-legged, as Patrick Ewing would say. They had a lot of those type of shots, and even when they did go to the rim, we were able to kind of rim protect and protect the lane. And I think that's why they were just able to get out and hold them at arm's length throughout the second half, despite the fact that really felt like we were just kind of trying to hold to the end. Virginia Tech wasn't doing much. And in fact, when you look up and you go, oh, we're really worried here, but they only have 52 points with like 7 minutes left. Like, it felt like this team was just able to turn on another gear on defense and say, hey, if we're struggling on offense, that's fine in certain aspects. But defense is one place that, sick or not, we will not struggle. And it's just they've taken that as a personal mission.
Hey, I want to get to some of the players, and it has to start with Cameron Boozer, who, like I said earlier, I thought like his defensive game wasn't really great on Amani Hansberry. And I don't have any confirmation of this. I've got no inside sources that say anything, but it feels like maybe Cam was a little bit under the weather. He just looked a little sluggish at times. He was sluggish all the way to shooting 9 of 12 from the field.
Yeah. Shame on you for being sluggish, Cam. Do better than 24, 8, and 5.
Yeah, exactly. 24, 8, and 5. He did have 4 turnovers. But yeah, his efficiency is just, I mean, what can you say about it? He was 7 of 9 on his 2-pointers. On the season, Donald, he's now up to 38% on his threes. That's a really, really good 3-point field goal percentage. I don't know. The college basketball world was all excited about the AJ Dibansa and Darren Peterson matchup, the Kansas BYU game that came on after Duke. It's like the primetime game on ESPN. I know NBA scouts are all like, yeah, it's Peterson and Dibansa and then Boozer, sure, whatever. The Atlanta Hawks are going to have a lottery pick. The Atlanta Hawks are going to have a very high lottery pick in all likelihood. And I'm hoping it lands at number 3 because I would rather get Cam Boozer than either of those guys. Maybe that's my Duke bias showing. I just think that he is so ruthlessly efficient. He just fills the stat sheet so much in so many different ways. I don't get it. And he's going to win Player of the Year. I don't care what these other guys do. AJ Dibansa can go off all he wants. Cam Boozer's winning Player of the Year because everyone can tell that Cam Boozer's the best player in college basketball. And he had a ho-hum, so-so 24, 8, and 5 game last night. I mean, what the hell are we even talking about?
Yeah, another 10-5-5 game. Add the steal to that that he had. It's funny. Again, it didn't feel like a complete game for him. it felt like I'm just going to assume everybody's under weather, like I said, and he looked like he was under the weather, whether you define it as sick or not. But he just again, this team grinded it out, and he was the leading example. Anytime he got the ball in the post, Virginia Tech had no answer, and it's just fun. And like you said, when he comes out the three, there was a couple times where he was trying. It looked like he was trying to figure out a way to drive into the post, and he didn't see a lane, so he said, "Okay, I'll shoot it," and it goes in, and you just see Virginia Tech just all their shoulders drop, and they're just like, "Oh my goodness, not now he's hitting threes." So it just creates more pressure for them to have to be in his face, and then he's an elite passer, so he gets 5 assists because guys are in his face, and he's able to find the open man who's able to finish. This was great, and also between him and Pat, there's a lot of assists between Cam and Pat, just like going back and forth, creating space between the two big men, and then one of them would find one of the guards on a backdoor pass. So the ability for Cam to get to his spots, to be efficient when he is at that spot, and then when the defense kind of clamps down on him, he's able to find the open guys. I think is a tremendous talent, and it's funny. Me and my best friend were watching the game yesterday, Jason. This team, like if you compare this team to last year, most people are like, wow, this team, on paper is probably not as good as last year's team. Last year's team is one of the top 5, 6 college basketball teams that, at least according to KenPom, that have ever played. And this team so far, with a tougher schedule, a tougher ACC, still has the player of the year in Cam Boozer, and is, so far has a better record, and is a testament to Cam Boozer's ability to do so many great things, but also how he complements everybody on the floor, how he knows where everybody on the floor. There was a point where Caleb Foster was able to find Cam Boozer in a way that Caden Boozer and Cam Boozer like to find each other, the twin connection. It was like Caleb Foster became the twin for a second and was able to find Cam because Cam was in the right spot at the right time and was able to make the right play. It's just fascinating to watch him play.
You talked about the record. Let me divert from the game to talking about the record just really quickly, because Duke is now 20-1. It is the best record, the best start for a Duke team since 2005, 2006. Talking like J.J. Sheldon kind of era.
Yeah.
The 2005, 2006 team started 27-1, so we got a little ways to go to catch them. But Duke is 20-1, best start since 2005, 2006. By the way, Duke is also now 7-0 in true road games. It's kind of absurd in this modern era. Winning on the road, winning a true road game is so damn hard to do against a decent team, and Duke has done it again and again and again. 7-0 in true road games. I know one of those is the Army game, but still, the other 6
don't matter.
Are really, really good teams. A lot of NCAA tournament teams that Duke is beating on the road. So, yeah, it's just been super impressive so far. Hey, let me hit a few players if I can really quick that I just wanted to mention. We already talked a little bit about Cam. We talked earlier about Cephas. I want to talk about Isaiah. Isaiah Evans couldn't find the range from outside, 0-4 on his 3-pointers, but hit 5 of 7 2-pointers. He had there was one mid-range shot. One of his misses was a mid-range shot that I was a little bit like, I'm not. He's taken a few more mid-rangers, and I'm okay with it.
He hit one. That was nice.
Yeah. I'm when he really gets himself open, I like it. When he's even a little bit covered, I'm like, maybe let's avoid that shot. Not the most efficient shot, and of course he missed it. But he is really doing a so much more attacking. We mention it every game. I think Isaiah's attacking the basket. Isaiah's attacking the basket. He really is attacking the basket and finishing, using his length to finish in ways like guys try and go up and get in his way, and he's just like, well, no, my arms are way longer than yours, so you can't reach this ball. I love it. It's hysterical. But I thought Isaiah had a really, really nice game. Let me get through a couple other guys, and then I'll let you get in. I wanted to mention, I thought Nick Hemenia leads the team in plus minus with a plus 19. Nick had 5 rebounds. I thought his defense is underrated in a game where we did not have Dame Sarr, and where we had Dame, but Dame, like 8 minutes, 3 fouls. Dame was not himself. He was clearly very, very sick. We needed Nick to step up on D, and he was asked to guard Neokolas Avdalas for the most part, with Dame under the weather. Avdalas had a terrible game. Abdallas was 1 of 8. He had 3 turnovers. He didn't look comfortable at all. Part of that, I think, is that Abdallas just doesn't look comfortable in games lately. But part of that was also, I thought Nick did a really nice job staying in front of him, forcing him to make more difficult decisions than he wants to. Abdallas is a wizard with the ball. He is a outstanding creator for himself and for his teammates. And Duke almost completely shut that off from him. And a lot of that falls on Nick Hemenia, who I just thought was outstanding at this. Abdallas had 3 assists, but frankly, in most games, the way he was trying, the stuff he was trying to do, he was looking to get 6, 7 assists because he was a little bit afraid to shoot it. And I thought Nick just did a great job of preventing that guy from taking over. That guy is a special, special player. And for us to hold him down the way we did, that's one of the key reasons that this game, we always kept them at arm's length throughout the game.
I want to talk real quickly about the 2 big men. Pat with 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks. I mentioned that blocks was something that we hadn't seen a lot lately, and he was able to get a couple in this game. Malik Brown, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 steals. And again, I feel like 2 steals is just punishment for the amount of times he affected a play. Was way higher than that. Those 2 guys being able to fill a lot of the stat sheet is a great thing. And if you combine that with Cam, always, seemingly always filling the stat sheet all the way down to the very end. These guys, our big men, really controlled this game. And when we needed to get a stop or we needed to stop some bleeding with regards to Virginia Tech maybe going on a little run, it was our big men that came through with some play, whether it was on offense or defense. And I love the way that they're all playing together. They're finding each other, and they're also creating the space. When you have 2 big men, it's sometimes difficult to create space in the paint for everybody to do their thing. They've been able to keep that spacing so that if one guy has the ball, the other guy is still at the attack ready position, but away from the place so that they're able to find that other person should things get bogged up. So I'm really happy what I'm seeing from our big men.
Yeah, I wanted to mention that Malik Brown had 10 shots in this game. That's way more than he usually takes.
Yeah, by a lot.
He hadn't had more than 6 shots in any game all year, and he takes 10 in this game. 4 3-pointers. I mean, come on. Like Malik took 2 3-pointers against Army. He took 2 against Georgia Tech. Other than that, like occasionally he'll shoot 1 every now and then. He attempted 4 3-pointers. Now, part of that is because Virginia Tech was just like literally leaving him and Pat completely wide. Like, just, hey, guys, take that all you want. I kind of wish that Malik and Pat would have punished them a little bit more for it. But the way that they punished them was it gave Malik and Pat like really great angles to see passes and stuff like that. The fact that they, you think that when you slough off a guy, oh, you're letting him take a shot. What you're letting him do is letting him pick apart your defense with their passing. And I thought Malik and Pat both did an outstanding job of that. But yeah, I just want to point out Malik taking 10 shots is just a little bit bonkers when you think about what his profile has been his entire time at Duke.
He's 5 for 10, which is 50% if you're doing math at home. But that's like 20 points off his average. He's like shooting 76% from the floor. I'm not from the floor, but from 2-point. And so when he hit the 1-3, I was like, oh, so now we're doing this now. And I think he was 3rd on the team in total shots. It's like him and Slim, and then Cam, Slim, then him, I want to say.
Yes, that's correct. Yes. Cam had 12, Isaiah had 11, and then Malik had 10.
Yeah, so the fact that, again, he was demonstrative with his play, shooting more shots is a show, again, that they trust him. And he also, a lot of those were dunks or finishes right at the rim. He was able to get into a position where, once again, if Cam or somebody was getting drawn in, drawing in a bunch of guys, they're able to go over the top, and then Malik's just sitting there like, hi, I'm open. I am by the rim. I will dunk it. And I love the fact that he's able to find his plays and be confident enough that his teammates are giving him the ball and he's taking those shots. Some of these are going to drop, like especially those threes. Some of those are going to drop. And again, it just makes the defense of the other team have to, stretch just that much further because they can't view him as just a token guy in offense.
It was funny. At one point, Malik had a play. I want to say it was where he got a steal and then he kind of he botched the layup, but he got the rebound and put it in. And a friend of mine texted me and said, Malik padding his offensive rebounding stats. And I said, are you crazy? He's crushing his 2-point shooting stats.
Yeah, see, he was on that play, that sequence. He was 1 for 2 points with 2 rebounds and a steal. So, hey, there you go. If you could do all that in one possession, I call that efficiency, Jason.
All right. With that, we're going to take a little break. On the other side, we got to get to some things that didn't work out quite as well as we'd like in this game. And we have our play of the game and our player of the week. All that coming up as the DBR podcast rolls on.
Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, sorry. Namaste.
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS. The new year brings new health goals and wealth goals. Protecting your identity is an important step. Your info is in endless places that could expose you to identity theft, leading to lost funds. LifeLock monitors millions of data points per second. If your identity is stolen, our restoration specialists will fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Resolve to make identity health and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Support for this show and the Fans First Sports Network comes from Strong Coffee Company. Elevate your coffee routine with Strong Coffee Company's Black Instant Blend and Lattes. Both feature organic coffee, protein, MCTs, and adaptogens for sustained energy and mental clarity. With quick delivery and exceptional taste, their coffee is a convenient option and a nutritious addition to your daily routine. Experience a healthier, most productive day with Strong Coffee Company. Visit strongcoffeecompany.com and receive 20% off at checkout using promo code FFSN. Again, strongcoffeecompany.com, FFSN.
All right, welcome back to the Duke Basketball Roundup as we are doing the thing that we hate to do, which is spend a little bit of time talking about what Duke needs to work on, the bad, so to speak. I'll start and say, obviously, the fact that half the team was sick is a bad thing. That I thought Duke did look sluggish at times. I thought it sort of showed out in the fact that we had that really nice lead in the first half, and we really let Virginia Tech whittle it away, and then we made the second half into a not exactly back and forth, but sort of between 5 and 9 points pretty much the entire half for the most part. I will point out that even though we were a little shorthanded, even though we were sick, even though we seemed sluggish, we held an NCAA tournament bubble team at arm's length the whole day on their home floor. So I'm not sure how bad that is, but that's got to be the first thing that you have in the bad, right?
I mean, look, it's like I wrote, not a cause for concern overall, but they were a step slow because of the fact that they were under the weather. They had to tough through that. That's something that we've had to do in other games when we're not sick. Is we've had those slow starts. We've had to spend energy trying to catch up and trying to get back into the game. And again, they were able to do that. But it's clearly, again, I think this is just my opinion, that all the team is sick in varying grades. And like I said, jokingly, Caleb Foster and Dabe Sarr are the most sick, so they're the ones that you heard about the most. And it was kind of a way to also, in a way, deflect from the fact that the rest of the team is also feeling it as well. So it's something that we've had this happen during the season already, right around that Lipscomb, Texas Tech portion around Christmas. We had some guys under weather then. This is another thing they're just going to have to overcome, but the games are going to come quick and fast. And so for them, they still have to figure out how to get out to a quicker start. and really, at least from an energy perspective, be present for all 40 minutes. We haven't really quite put that all together yet, but again, that's a work in progress.
So another thing I want to mention was and I kind of brought this up a little bit talking about Duke's defense, but the free throw shooting. Duke only shot 7 free throws in this game. We shot 0 free throws in the first half. It's the first time in 2 years that Duke hasn't shot any free throws in a half of basketball. Now, part of that was Virginia Tech was playing a little bit of Matador defense, especially in the first half.
That was good. Yeah. We were talking about this.
Their defense was not great at times, so I don't know how much I should complain about it. But for the two teams with the highest free throw rate in the ACC to play a game where there are a total of 13 free throws shot, just like that was not on my dance card. I did not expect that. But Duke's free throw rate in this game was 11.9%. This is, the number of free throws compared to the number of field goals, that whole kind of thing. 11.9% for Duke's free throw rate. It's far and away, not even close, the lowest for Duke in a game this season. We hadn't had a single game all year where our free throw rate was under 27%. And in this game, we barely even got to 12. We didn't even get to 12%. Again, part of that is Virginia Tech, the way they chose to play defense. But, maybe a little part of that was also Duke not doing as good a job of drawing free throws as usual. Of course, that may have been because we were getting more dunks. So I guess
Yeah. For me, I also had listed that. But again, it's kind of a caveat to it with that and the fact that Virginia Tech just wasn't allowing. They're like, hey, we're not going to put them on the line because we're not going to have this game be legislated by the officials. And again, we use that to our advantage by just getting the paint. And if you're going to let us get into the paint and take our shot, then how do you do, Rem? Here we go. I think the one main glaring thing was, Jason, you mentioned it a little bit in the good when we were talking about Cam Boozer, is that we allowed Amani Hansberry to get hot, especially from 3. And I think that was what kept Virginia Tech with hope throughout the game, is that they were able to turn to him and get his shots. And credit to him, because like we mentioned in the preview, he's a really good player. And, the fact that he was able to get 20 off of us with 4 or 5 from 3, I think was a really good performance by him. And he was the reason why I think Virginia Tech had these, little mini runs where they could, at least in the crowd, get a little bit of hope that they could mount a comeback and get close. It felt like at the end, when you look back, you go, oh, we really kind of had them where we wanted them the whole time. But Hansberry was the cog in that program. So I'm really, I think for him, when we identify a player, and not just you and I, Jason, but the coaching staff, they identify a player that's going to be someone to watch out for, even if something's struggling, right? It's not about, you don't be too prideful to kind of say, hey, I'm struggling over here. Like, let's figure out a way to get this guy and limit it. Because I think one thing we could have done is, again, maybe the answer would have been Dame Sarr if he wasn't sick. But again, it's not a cause for concern, but it's definitely something where Hansberry was the reason why this game felt close at certain times of the game.
Yeah, there's no question about that. And again, you tip your hat to a guy, a really good player who had a really good game for them. Last thing I had in the bad was I wanted to mention our outside shooting. It wasn't just the fact that Duke was 5 of 21, 23.8%, just 1 of 10 on 3-pointers in the second half. I think every team, the scouting report on Duke is keep them, dear Lord, please keep them out of the lane. This is a team that is crushing teams on the inside. And I think everyone out there is like, we've got to prevent them from getting to the rim. Now, good luck with that. No one has succeeded at doing it in quite a while. But as a result, Duke is getting wide open 3-pointers. And for us to just be 1 of 10 on threes in the second half, think about how different that second half feels if rather than going between like 5 and 8 or 9 points the whole time, if we just hit just 3 of 10, just 30% on our threes in the second half, then the lead is like between 9 and 15 the whole time, as opposed to being between 5 and 9. It's just a very, very different feel for the game if Duke just hits even a bad percentage. We've just got to find a way. We're less than 25% on our threes. On the season, Duke's around like 34, 35%. somewhere in that ballpark, I can live with that. Let's try and get around there if we can, because frankly, and by the way, it affects the way teams are playing defense. Like we talked about the fact that they weren't bothering to guard Big Pat or Malik when they were out there. They frankly weren't bothering to guard Dame. When Dame Sarr was in the game, Virginia Tech was like, let him go wherever he wants. Like, don't even, let's play 5-on-4 on defense and leave that one guy alone. Dame was like, they weren't even paying attention to him for the most part. And it didn't matter. He just kept on missing. Now, he's sick. I get it. But still, it's we just got to find a way to get a little tiny bit better on these outside shots.
I think that's also the reason why this game was a 14-point win instead of a 30-point win, right? Like there were some times where we missed some open shots that would have extended leads and also just made momentum to the point where Virginia Tech would have probably had to call a timeout to reassess themselves. So it's one of those things that goes hand in hand. You don't want teams packing the paint and forcing you to shoot threes and you're not making them. But if it becomes a trend where we're not hitting our 3-pointers the way that we normally should be, like you said, 35% would be great. Of course, we'd love to have better. But if you're shooting in the 25% range, that means teams are just going to pack the paint, and it's going to make it more difficult for us to do our strength, right? Which is score in the paint. So, yeah, the just because we're doing well in the paint doesn't mean that we can let the 3-point shooting go. We have to be able to make some of those threes, especially the open ones. Because, like you said, if you hit a couple open ones, that just makes them have to play defense on you, and that opens up so many more avenues for us to score.
All right, let's get to the play of the game. You hinted at yours. Go ahead and give us yours first, because I think it's different than mine.
Yeah, it's in the first half, and Big Pat has the ball at the top of the key. And as I mentioned, they've been doing some backdoor passes to try and get guards inside. And he does a backdoor pass. He finds none other than Darren Harris. Darren Harris takes the ball, goes up over a guy, and dunks. And I think it's punctuated by the fact that he raised the roof, Jason, afterwards going down the floor. Everyone was going nuts. And again, like for a guy who has not been playing a lot lately and has not been taking a lot of shots when he's on the floor, for him to be assertive in that moment, I thought was great. And I think it was a well-needed jolt to the team at that particular moment of the game. So that's my play of the game. I thought that was great.
All right, so I had two, and I want to start with the one that doesn't win my player of the game, but was just a key moment in the game with about 13 minutes left. Cam made a ridiculous, like, no-look wraparound kind of pass to Malik that Malik made an easy bucket, and he got fouled. And then he missed the free throw, and Cam grabbed the offensive rebound and put it back. It turned it into a 4-point possession. Again, this is at the 13-minute mark. It was a very close game. Just devastating, absolutely devastating for Virginia Tech to have a play like that where Duke gets functionally 2 layups on one possession, 4-point play. Always got to love those. But my play of the game was with 7:50 left in the first half. Ben Hammond threw a lob to Toby Lawal. It was a weird lob. Like, if Lawal had gotten it, he still would have been way, way away from the bat. I'm not sure what was going on there, but Big Pat made a great help defense play to knock it away. And we then got treated to Cam and Caden, the Boozer brothers, doing like this ping pong passing thing up the court. It almost looked like a little drill they were on. I'll pass to you, you pass to me, I'll pass to you, you pass to me. And
basket weave.
It ended with Pat getting, with Cam getting a slam dunk, giving Duke a 26-13 lead. I felt like at that moment, I wrote in my notes, I'm like, and we never looked back. Like, you know how sometimes you do that? You're like, oh, this is the moment. This happened. We never looked back. We did, unfortunately. It got closer from there. I thought that we were going to just run away at that point. We didn't quite, but I thought that was just a great play. And I just loved, again, the sibling passing that we saw from those guys, just knowing exactly what move to make with each other at every second to get the wide open dunk. It was nice.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one. The little Euro step too on the dunk. Awesome.
All right, time for player of the week. There is only one candidate. I mean, I want to tip my cap to Pat Gongba, who had a really nice game against Louisville. Malik Brown, there are a couple guys who played. there's only one candidate this week. Tell everyone who the player of the week is.
It's Cameron Sikandar Boozer, 43 points, 18 rebounds, 9 assists, and 1 steal. And as of right now, and in our hearts, the National Player of the Year. He played like it, and again, fighting through some stuff, especially against Virginia Tech, to put up that stat line. Again, it takes a Herculean effort to beat Cam on a weekly basis, and we try to look for some of the unsung heroes. This week, he is the hero of the week. Yeah, he was great.
We are so blessed to have these guys playing their basketball in Durham wearing a Duke uniform. Man, that guy, he's a hell of a player. There's just nothing more you can say about it. Just impacts winning every way possible. I agree with you. Cam Boozer is unquestionably the player of the week and unquestionably the player of the year in college basketball. With that, we're going to wrap it up here on the latest edition of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Donald and Jason, we're going to be, hey guys, we're going to be back in your feed. Like you're going to be sick of us in a few days. I promise. We will have a preview of the game against Boston College. Do not overlook any opponent, especially an ACC opponent. We'll be telling you all about BC. And then after that, there's a game on Saturday. I have to look it up, Donald. I'm not sure who we're playing, but we might have multiple previews of that game, including special guests, all that kind of stuff. We always treat that one special, but we won't be treating it special yet because you need to pay attention to BC. So look for that coming up in your feed as we continue to fill you up with content about the Duke Blue Devils, the 20-1, undefeated in the ACC, 9-0 Duke Blue Devils. He is Donald. I am Jason. And this is the Duke Band playing us out and taking us home to Cameron for BC.
Hi, it's Victor Hedman from the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Hedman with a drive, score!
The NHL Stadium Series is coming to the Sunshine State. Watch as we take on the Boston Bruins in the 2026 NHL Stadium Series in Tampa. Catch all the action on Sunday, February 1st on ESPN. Visit NHL.com/Stadium Series for tickets and more information. That's NHL.com/Stadium Series, and I'll see you February 1st.